me do that first. And good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to continuing professional education services hot topic for the month of June. I cannot believe it is June already. Time is flying by, but it appears that summer is going to be here for the next 2 days, and then we'll be back to fall again. But I am Phil Brilliant, and I'm here. I'm with Brilliant Environmental Services as well as Continuing Professional Education Services. And this hot topic is a conversation with Lynne Mitchell, with the I was I still say site remediation program, but I'll let George do the introductions. When you've been around as long as I have, you really can't break old habits. So I'm going to turn this over to George Berkowitz in a second here, but I'm going to ask a couple things. One, if everybody can stay muted, and I will make sure to proctor that. Two, your camera is your choice. Again, we try to keep this as PG as possible, so look at your surroundings before you turn your camera on. And three, if you have any questions, comments, 3 ways to do it. Put your comment into the chat, and I'll make sure that the speakers have the opportunity to answer it. Two, you can raise your virtual hand, and we'll give the opportunity to ask the question by unmuting yourself. And three, you can put it into the Q&A section, and we'll definitely do that also. Last thing I will say is this is recorded, and it will be put out on our website at steepsnj.com to be shared and have everybody have the opportunity to learn from our speakers. So with that, I will turn it over to the chairman of the board of CPES, Dr. George Berkowitz.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Particular thank you to Lynne Mitchell, who's Assistant Director for this. I'm going to call it the Site Remediation Program, but she'll tell you more specifically what it is. Can't tell you how much I do appreciate it for somebody who, in Lynn's position, which is a very important position, particularly now with things like the new, I call it the new mega rule in proposal, and actually the comment period has expired, and the department is in the process of reviewing the comments. For her to walk into the lion's den now is an act of courage. And Lynn, I can't tell you, and I have told you before, how much I appreciate your time and your willingness to do that. That's what I think a true public servant is all about. Relative to CPES, we want you guys to tell us what types of courses that you might be more interested. We find that we're retreading too many courses, to be perfectly honest with you. And we're trying to also develop a new set of instructors. But we have, I will tell you, if we were to show you the reviews of our courses, they are generally all, and I'm going to use a word that's seldomly used, stellar. They are high quality courses. And in fact, we get incredibly good returns on our efforts. And we have a faculty that's second to none in New Jersey. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm not saying it's because I teach the courses or Phil teaches the course. No, we seldomly do, quite frankly. But we moderate and come up with some ideas. We are always looking for new ideas for new courses. One of the things that we're playing with, should we put a series of technical guidance courses together? Maybe do 3 technical guidance in one 3-hour session and do a series of those. I'm not so sure that we're going to do that, but if anybody wants to provide some feedback relative to that, just let me know. We do these courses, we do the hot topics as a service to the community. The community being particularly LSRPs, but not just LSRPs. We have attorneys joining us often. We have some planners join us often, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we do this because we believe that it's a good thing to be done. And this is a very interesting, this is going to be a very interesting session. Again, I'm going to introduce Lynn. And Lynn started with DEP when she was 7 years old. She was a child prodigy. She joined the program in '87 and went to the site remediation program in '88. She has a dual degree from the Harvard of the East Coast, Rutgers University, in chemistry and political science. Now, there is a unique combination. You don't see that in nature, by the way. You'll never see a molecule that has both of those. So she was in the site remediation program, as I said, since '88. She's been in the Bureau of Field Operations. She's been in various remedial action permitting. She was now named in 2019 the Assistant Director of the Remediation Review Element. Lynn, I thank you so much. Maybe perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what your purview of your element is.
Sure. The remediation review element includes the Bureau of Remedial Action Permitting and the Bureau of Inspection and Review. So pretty much every LSRP site comes through, every site goes through BIR, and most sites end up going through BRAP as well. So my staff touches a lot.
So significantly, you're basically saying any landmark document that's submitted by an LSRP is going to go through your program.
Absolutely. Every key document that is submitted gets inspected by BIR, and they have, and then they determine if necessary, they do a review, and BRAP handles all of the remedial action permits.
So Lynn and I, in preparation of this session, had a discussion the other day, and two new issues emerged. And one of those, I think, is a very important issue, and that is the role of technical consultations. Lynn, would you want to talk about the role of technical consultations, please?
The technical consultations are an opportunity for the LSRP to come in, talk with technical staff before they submit a key document, the RI report or the RA report, or a permit application. Come in, talk with the people who will end up reviewing it, and make sure that, you know, there's nothing that that they hadn't thought of originally, things for them to consider. It is not, we don't give direction. We don't say, this is mandated, you must put in 2 wells. But we would make comments like, we don't think that you're delineated to the northwest. And isn't that nice to hear that before you submit the remedial action report? Excuse me.
Yep. So, and you want me, can I interrupt now?
Sure.
Yeah. So I heartily value technical consultations for just the reason that you said. And anytime that you're thinking about something that's novel, even if it's not novel, you may want to have a technical consultation before you submit what you think is the appropriate report. And look, I've been turned down on technical consultations in terms of the department saying, no, don't do this or don't do that. I didn't change. And I was able, through subsequent technical consultations, to be able to convince the department that what we were doing is right. And it may take that extra step, particularly if you're doing something novel. We were putting dirty soil on clean soil.
Which is not something we typically like.
No, which is not, yep, go ahead.
But I want to make the comment that if you have, if you've already submitted a document and received comments, that's not the time to request a technical consult. It has to be submitted beforehand, because we already have a group that's working on it, and that's what you need to deal. You know, that's who you need to deal with.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I say technical consult before, technical consult maybe during, and right immediately before you do something as a submittal, even if it doesn't contain novel stuff. Now, the second item we got to was the quality of the reports that are being given to you, Lynn. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, you know, since I became part of this program in the part of BRAP, what I found was that people, the staff was holding on to reports, and people we would make comments, we would review the entire document, we would make comments and say, you weren't delineated, you need to go look to the west, you didn't look at eco, whatever it was that we made the comments. And when that happened, people were keeping the permit applications. They weren't making people come back in with a new one. They were just keeping the same one open. And we were, in essence, becoming case managers again. And that wasn't helping the process. So we have, for about, I think it's been 2 years now, we've had the 60-day policy where we give you 60 days to address. And at the end of those 60 days, we will ask you to withdraw the document, or we will ask you, or we will say that we will reject it as incomplete. So we are not holding on to these permits for 2, 3, and 4 years now. We are now saying that this is not okay. You didn't do what you were supposed to do initially. Come back in when you're ready. We've had, things as silly as remedial action reports that say that they have a permit application in-house when they don't. Well, you either get the permit application in, or your remedial action report that you certified to be accurate isn't accurate, and you must withdraw it. And we're not going to sit here and wait 6 months to a year for you to finish preparing your application. We're saying you have 60 days. And if at the end of that time you don't do it, we are going to ask you to withdraw or deem it incomplete.
That was an aha moment for me, because I was concerned about these numerous requests to withdraw or incomplete or withdraw, and didn't quite understand this new policy. And that led, quite frankly, to the whole formation of the revisiting RAP process under Gwen at that point, which was a very interesting process, a very excellent process as to how government could work. And there was a lot of give and take, a lot of meetings, but at the end of the day, the department took it wholeheartedly and restructured the program. And kudos to the department. But I will tell you, the other thing that I wanted to say is, as a class of professionals, we aren't Hemingway and we're not Shakespeare.
No.
And in many cases, I had an opportunity to review a report for which I was an LSRP that was done by a technical person in a different consulting program. It was a 10-page report, and I had 45 comments. So as a class, we do not necessarily write as well as we perhaps should. We had a course that offered that were postponed because we didn't have enough people to put in the seats on just that, technical writing for LSRPs.
I think it's a very important class. I think one of the main problems people have when they're writing their reports is that they have spent the past 20, 30 years working on a case, and we are inspecting and reviewing only small portions of the report. So if it can't understand everything that's going on in your head, if you don't put it all down, then it makes it much harder for my staff to review it. So they will question you. And I'd like to throw out a plug that if you do get a notice of incomplete from one of my staff asking for something, please just give them the information. It might be there. They might not have found it. They are all human, and they might have missed it, or you thought you put it in Appendix A and it wasn't there. That was blank. You make mistakes, we can make mistakes, but just provide the information. If you have it, provide it, make it simple. It doesn't have to be anything. If they ask you a question about a remedial action that you did, they might not understand the way you write it, so explain it more. And a class on technical writing would probably help, so that on the first run, staff can look at it and understand where you were going with what you wrote.
Yeah. The person who instructs this course has authored 2 books on technical subjects. And as that, Ben Alter's his name. And Ben is really great and was so disappointed in the fact that we had such few people sign up for it because it's just a great course. Lynn, let's talk about what your priorities are at this point in time. Administrative or technical, your choice.
Well, my personal priorities, I am the rule manager for the revisions to ARCs and the Tech Regs. So right now we are reviewing the numerous comments that we received. I cannot take any questions on that topic. I wish I could, but I have been informed that I am not allowed to answer questions. It has to do with the fact that there was a public comment period. And if I answer questions now, it would be violating that. So I can't do that. I don't want to start all over again.
Yeah, and what's interesting, Lynn and I had a quick discussion before we started this, and it was I needed to have my recollection refreshed. If in fact there are significant comments, theoretically there requires a reproposal. However, there are elements within a let's say a mega rule, and I consider this to be a mega rule, by the way. You can extract those and subject to further review, and then proceed to adopt the remaining portions of the proposal. I presume that that's what's going to happen. I think there's at least 2 subjects that I think are extremely controversial. Only 2? Well, yeah, only 2 at this point. But I do believe, quite frankly, the people have to realize that once you go to the review process, if there are significant changes, they have to repropose. That's another 2 years. And every time you repropose, right, Lynn?
I will agree that if I have to repropose, it takes a lot more time, and I don't want to do that.
Okay. Okay, Lynn, talk to me about when somebody does an RAO. And let us say that have an engineering control with the RAO, so they're subject to biennial cert, and then a standard changes. Let's say the standard changes from hypothetically 1 to 0.5 parts per billion in water, and they're at 0.8. When they're under the BI-Cert, what happens then?
So I'm going to change your scenario slightly, but I will talk generally first.
Right.
Under the BI-Cert process, during your biennial review, one of the things that it's on our form and you're obligated to do is review any standards. If any standard changed by more than an order of magnitude during the BI-Cert phase, you compare what you have left on site to what the new standard is. And if there is an order of magnitude difference between what is left on site and what the new standard is, then you have to determine if it is protective. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do any work on this. I'll do a little plug. We sent, I think it was last Tuesday, we had an email that went out with new guidance trying to explain this. The first step you do is look to see, is your remedy protective? Was it a soil standard? Did you have a cap? Is your cap still protective? Was it a groundwater standard, but the CEA remains in the same duration and the same location, so your CEA doesn't change? Well, if your CEA doesn't change, or your deed notice, your cap doesn't need to change, your remedy is still protective, you're done. If your remedy is not protective, if your CEA did change, if your CEA now extends another half mile because you have something else that you're looking at, then you have to modify your permit. And if you are at the BI-Cert phase and you say, okay, I've done my evaluation, I now need to modify my permit. I'm not ready to right now because I don't know exactly how far it's going to be. You put that in your BI-Cert, that what you plan on doing, the additional wells you're going to be putting in, whatever you might need, and then you address it when you're ready to. Your BI-Cert doesn't have, always submit your BI-Cert. Even if your BI-Cert is saying there is work that needs to be done, that's great, because we know you're going to do that work. Please don't ever wait and not submit your BI-Cert until the work is done. That's not the way the process is supposed to work. So can I continue on the order of magnitude?
Go.
Thank you. So we did have a lot of concerns with the change in standards for the remedial action permits that we have in-house. And we realized that we have a lot of permits that we were not going to be able to issue within this time frame before August 3rd. So we are making an exception that what we are doing for the permits that are in-house that have one of the 7 compounds that have changed by an order of magnitude, those we will, if the permit could be approved based on the old standards, we will approve it and we will put something into your BI-Cert that says, as a requirement, you must address the standards in your first BI-Cert. So it'll be a requirement of the permit to address it. We also are giving people the option to, if we haven't issued that permit yet, and you want to do the evaluation, submit it to us. And then we won't put that requirement in your permit. Up to you.
Great discussion. Thank you very much. Very interesting topic. Listen,
Can I ask one question? Just a question. Yes. Lynn, you said if you have information and you want to submit, how would someone go about submitting that to you?
So the listserv that came out last Tuesday links you to our guidance. And in the guidance, it says contact either your permit writer if your permit has been assigned. And we gave you steps on how to use DataMiner to find out who your permit writer is. And if not, if you can't find that, simply send it to Michael Gaudio, the Bureau Chief of BRAP, and he will forward it appropriately.
Yeah. And just a comment, I think, for anybody on this call who does do permit work, that clear description, directions, and understanding of how to find your permit writer is very helpful. So if you haven't read that, because that's always a question: who has my permit? Who has my permit? Who has my permit? I think that's probably the first time we've seen it very clear. I think many of us have figured it out over time, but you should definitely go back and read that email from last Tuesday, you said?
Yep.
So that you can clearly see who is holding your permit. You don't go crush them with text message, emails, and phone calls, but at least you have somebody you can contact if you need to subsequently give some additional information. Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah,
Lynn,
we are trying, we are proposing, it's in the works because we agreed we wanted to get that information out. We're just trying to figure out where on our website we can put those instructions so people can figure that out instead of just having that listserv where people might not go back and find it again.
Just a comment, you may want to send that over to Dana or Meredith at the board, and maybe that can be added into the next newsletter.
Oh, good idea.
Good question. Very valuable information, Lynn. Thank you so much. And I will tell you right now, from a clearly objective point of view, the department's website is great. The department does a very good job in trying to communicate with the regulated community and the LSRP community, et cetera, and anybody who has any interest. And in addition to that, the technical guidance documents are really important. And in fact, we're thinking of putting together a series of 7 3-hour presentations on technical guidance. because I can't think of anybody who's read all 84 guidance documents, not just the 36 that we're responsible for, but all the financial guidance, the administrative guidance, and the technical guidance. So we're gonna take a look at it. We're primarily going to focus on the technical guidance. But having said that, then tell us, when we did our last ethics course, I wanted to figure out the disciplines that the LSRP are responsible for. And I came up with 14, from organic chemistry to bioaccumulation in stagnant lakes. You know, the amount of information, technical information, that the LSRP is responsible for is, the spectrum is very large. However, we have people reviewing our documents who also have this spectrum that they're responsible for. And I believe, quite frankly, from a technical point of view, we have 36 credits of continuing education in order to keep ourselves technically astute. Obviously, the civil service documents describe this role for your folks don't have that requirement. Then how do you keep your staff technically astute? And what type of training do you have for them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
So our staff does not have to be experts in everything, because we have experts in everything. So we have people who are experts in groundwater, and they work for the Bureau of Groundwater Pollution Abatement. And both BIR and BRAP have people who are very knowledgeable in groundwater and handle the reviews that they get. But there are times when they may not be comfortable with what was submitted, so they will ask for a peer review with a geologist, one of the senior geologists over in Joel's group, and they will learn the information from them. Sometimes it's more complicated and they'll ask for a full referral. We also, we can have trainings that are offered to us, and we don't send entire bureaus to trainings. We will send a couple of people from each of the bureaus who are then instructed to go back and give the information to the class, to the rest of the bureaus, so that they have it. PFAS, for example, we have a PFAS expert in each of the bureaus. Obviously, none of them compare to Jennifer Williamson, who is the PFAS expert in BRA, but they know, and they're the ones who go and get the extra information, and then they take it back and learn and help the rest of the staff with their questions. We have opportunities to learn from our staff. We have internal trainings where people who are experts on the subject come in and do a half-hour talk during staff meetings. We have we go to trainings on the outside, as I said. So we have a lot of opportunities for people to train. And within the Bureau, we have the senior staff training people on what they're doing. But we like to do it in, not isolation, because we find that different people, might have different takes on it. And it's good to hear different perspectives when staff is first learning. So we have many tools for the staff. And as the chair of the training committee in the contaminated site remediation and redevelopment program, we have internal trainings that we do for staff, plus staff are encouraged to go to any of the trainings that we put on. Like, we will be putting on rule trainings when the rule is adopted, in October. And we will be providing trainings on what are the changes in that rules. And we will provide that to the general public as well as to our staff, so they get to know and learn about that.
Let me ask a stupid question, but in the process of doing performance reviews, do people have to list what kind of training they took over the past year?
It is required for new staff to go to trainings, and yes, it's their requirement when in their supervisors should be making sure that they've attended these trainings. They're required to attend like SHRAG meetings and the Brownfield Roundtable to make sure they have a broader understanding of what's going on. It's not just their little silo that they're looking at. They are another opportunity for them is to go onto field visits. You know, when our field people are going out to sites, they get a chance to look at some of the remediation techniques instead of just reading about it. And their supervisor should be making sure they're going, and that supervisor should be making sure that they're checking to make sure that the staff is doing all those things.
Yeah.
Senior, other older staff can, you know, not older, staff who's been here longer can also attend those trainings.
Yeah, don't go after the old people, please.
Yeah, no.
I'll take that personally. I will tell you that gets back to the first discussion about technical consultations. Sometimes when you go for a technical consultation, the person who's got the specific knowledge over a tacky question or a very complex question may not be at the table at that point. Maybe it's because we haven't made that clear that this is the issue. Maybe it's because our report is deficient. I don't know what but the issue simply is that if in fact you are having a technical consultation, go in loaded for bear. And technical consultations done the right way, depending upon the complexity of the issue, are not cheap, particularly the preparation for a really positive consultation. I will tell you right now, it was a Fortune 500 company, but the technical consultation preparation cost them $25,000. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm saying that that's going to be the rule. But my point simply is the money that saved is immeasurable, absolutely immeasurable. But the first time we had that technical consultation, it did not go our way. The second time we had the technical consultation, we came out with at least some questions from the department that we knew we hadn't answered. The third consultation was a home run. So technical consultation is not an episode unto itself. It may be a series. So be careful.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And it's important that we get information prior to the technical consult, so we understand the issues that you want to discuss, so that we have the right people in the room to hear it. It does you no good to have a technical consultation on, let's say, soil issues or groundwater issues, and you don't mention that it's former agricultural, so you don't have a HAP expert on the call as well. You want to make sure that you give all the information up front. You know, if you're doing a PowerPoint, submit the PowerPoint. If you have, you know, a couple of pages to explain what your issues are, give them to us so that we make sure that the tech consult is as productive as possible.
So Lynn, I think
George, we got a couple of questions that came in. Do you mind if I interrupt you for a second? You can.
I'd be glad to interrupt.
Okay.
You be interrupted.
First question came in is Lynn, have any groundwater RAPs been approved for PFAS or PFOAs?
We are working on guidance for that, but somebody would need to prove M&A for that to be effective. And we have not received one that does that yet.
Okay. DEP does permit coordination meetings for large projects to coordinate land use and other permits. Could there be a process for RAPs whereby once the reviewer of the RAP is assigned, call the LSRP and RAP reviewer could be scheduled so that the DEP reviewer can get up to speed and potentially reduce the time of RAP review? Probably something similar to what happens in the CAFRA program. If
your remedial action report and your permit application should be sufficient for us to issue a permit. If everything is in the report and it's clearly marked and easy for us to find, we shouldn't need to have a pre-meeting to discuss what's going on at that site. We should be able to follow everything. And we are, with the supplemental certifications, we are trying to move the permits through faster based on what is in the report. I would prefer not to have pre-meetings, but if there is, I would prefer that you would go the route of a tech consult. After the tech consult, notes are put into NGEMS and the permit writer has access to that and would be able to look at that and see what was discussed. I think that would be the better way of handling it. It would make the permit, I want to keep the permit, I think everybody's goal is to have the permits go through faster. The way that the system is designed is that your report is complete. We look at, we can determine that you have for groundwater, your active system is working, or you have M&A and you're fully delineated, and we can see that easily. That permit goes through. And I will plug a little bit more. If you can use the supplemental search, please do so, or the prioritized RAP applications. Anything that you can use, those are tools that we have come up with for you to get your permit through faster. And we've received numerous soil permit applications that way. Not as many groundwater. So any please use the tools that we have provided. If you have suggestions for other things that could be included in the supplemental certification for groundwater, please email Mike and let us know what they are.
Our CVP SHRAG meeting still being held. The DEP's webpage has not been updated since June 2024 for them, has previously been a great resource of discussion topics.
We are still having the SHRAG meetings. I'm just looking, the next one is next Wednesday. I just want to make sure I got the right date.
It is the 11th, correct, at 9 o'clock.
Yep. The website is not up to date. I will let somebody know that.
Yeah, I will put a comment or a plug in there that I know that the last one was canceled because basically it used to be where they used to assign out to different organizations to be the co-sponsor, quote unquote. Now they go out and they say, what are the issues? What are the questions? What are the things? And they'll bring the people in, and nobody responded. So I think that was why the last one was canceled. So if you have issues, questions, comments, and you see that email come out, send something back. It doesn't mean you have to participate, but at least you give them something to talk about.
This one is making up for that. I believe they have material for 3 hours.
Okay, good. And then, there was a question here, why does it take 2 years to issue a permit?
It does not take 2 years to issue the permit. It takes us 2 years to get to your permit. And as I said earlier, one of the reasons is that we can't find the information in your application, and we have to wait and get it back from you. If every report was, we were able to find everything immediately, it would make the process faster. In addition, we had people who were holding on to permit applications and going back and forth and having conversations that were going on for years on sites. We've stopped that. I believe we no longer have any, but if there's still some out there that are old, they're getting letters now that say you have 60 days to either submit a complete application, finish this work, or we are going to deem it incomplete. So we are going through the backlog. We had received numerous reports for the 2021 deadline, and some of them were not complete. And it just, our practice of writing every deficiency that we find was taking a lot of time. So one of the things we're doing now to help our newer staff, as well as to help the LSRP, is we're sending out our notices of incomplete have are basically a checklist. And with the checklist can be used by the LSRPs to, you don't have to submit it with your report, but you can use it as a tool to see if you have everything that we're going to be looking for in your permit. Use that checklist. That's what that's what staff is using. Did you completely delineate? Well, then you think, did I completely delineate? So you can use this to check off that you have everything in your permit application. The more complete they are, the quicker it'll be for us to do them.
And a side note there, just remember too, as an LSRP, when you upload your documents or whoever does it for you, make sure that the upload is complete. Sometimes, you uploaded, you think everything's golden, but you grab the wrong document or it didn't fully upload, and that ends up being a deficient document.
Sometimes we get drafts.
Yeah.
Somebody grabbed the wrong one. We get a draft in.
Phil, can we hold off on some more questions? We have a lot more.
Yep, keep going. Yep, go. We'll hold on more. Yep.
First of all, I know this isn't Lynn's purview, but I'm going to bring it up because I think it's going to have real important consequences. Recently, EPA published regulation for public water supplies for PFOA and PFAS, and it's 4 parts per trillion. It's going to be enforced it was supposed to be 2029. It's been extended to 2021. They proposed for 6 compounds, but 4 of them, they want to reconsider the levels. This means to me, at some point in time, the department's going to probably have to play ball with those numbers. And if in fact they have 4 parts per trillion for PFAS and PFOA, I predict all hell's going to break loose with residential sale property, but with individual wells. And I do believe that the department's coming up with a fund for people who do have PFAS and PFOA right now. Is that right? Is that correct, Lynn?
So that is not my area.
Okay, right. I'm sorry.
Of expertise. I can tell you that the numbers are being generated through safe drinking water. And when the MCLs are approved, then they go to the groundwater quality standards, which then become the groundwater remediation standards.
Right.
What we are doing with that, we're not the lead on that.
Right. I completely understand. I just think from a holistic point of view, keep this in your horizon, because I do believe it's going to be a major issue when this happens. Can you talk to me about training for the outside world? Is there a specific function for a specific group of people who are responsible for training the regulatory community, the people who are impacted by the regulation, LSRPs, et cetera, et cetera? Is that a group of people who are specifically tasked with doing that?
We, as the manager of the training committee, I can tell you that everybody who is on the training committee for CSRR do so while they're doing their other job here. It's not their only task. We typically do trainings on full trainings when new guidance documents come out, major revisions to guidance documents. We're working on the historic fill guidance document right now. When that guidance document is finished, we will have a couple of hours training on the changes to that document. If we have Small issues, if I can get enough small issues, we have hot topics that we've done in the past. And again, as I said earlier, we would be doing trainings on the rule revisions and whatever changes and guidance documents we have because of the rule changes. On our training page, there's a contact, Samantha Gleisner. If anybody has suggestions for topics that they want for a hot topic, they can email her. We try to do as many trainings as we can. We also do a training at Rutgers, the case study. We do that before every exam. So initially we were doing that every couple of months. Now we are doing it every 18 months or so. So it's available prior to the next exam.
That's important because they give you all the answers during that session, right, Lynn?
Actually, it is not an exam prep. It is an exam prerequisite. So it is just to give you, we go through a case, we try to touch on subjects that we think that you should know as an LSRP when handling a case.
Good. I know this isn't your purview, but I'm going to ask you anyway. If it's just observational rather than technical backup, the cuts that are happening at EPA. EPA provides a lot of money to the state, particularly to the Department of Environmental Protection. And I know, quite frankly, that you may not be concerned, maybe, because maybe you have a self-sufficient program, but clearly there are going to be impacts associated with that. Let me give you an example, and then you and I talked about this, so I apologize. 50% of our Superfund sites are led by EPA. 50%. That was designed when the whole program came out. We shared the responsibility. We had a great working relationship with EPA at the time. I don't know what's going to happen to those 50%. If in fact there is a slowdown, I think the public, particularly there's the amount of public communication that is mandated by the NCPL, the NCP rather, National Contingency Plan, there's going to be public outcry. And the department can't pick up another 50%. So I'm personally concerned about that. And I don't know how that's going to impact your program. But in general, the whole concept of attacking EPA is going to have some trickle-down effect to, I think, a lot of programs in the department. That's my observation. Okay.
It may. I can tell you that so far it's business as usual.
Yep.
We are again. This is not my area of expertise.
Yep.
But since we did talk about it, I did ask a few questions. Everybody is saying that things, including the grant money that we get, are being
right.
Things are moving ahead. No changes. We are still business as usual.
Good. And hopefully that sustains itself, but I'm not so sure it will. Lynn, talk to me about when people submit reports. AAI is pandemic. AI, I should say, not AAI. Not all appropriate inquiry, artificial intelligence. And by somebody's accused me of having artificial intelligence. But I will tell you that in my opinion, report writing in many cases use AI. Yet, when an LSRP certifies any document, they guarantee that they've examined the training, education, and experience of those who they are relying upon. I don't know how you do that with AI.
I don't know either. And I think it's important that the LSRP who's submitting the document read over the document to make sure that it's accurate before it's submitted. Have somebody else read it too. So to make sure that it's clear to somebody else. Because as I said earlier, some people some people, know the site so well that what's clear in their head doesn't come through in their writing. We also, are trying to use AI where appropriate, where we can. It can help make certain tasks that are automated more seamless and easier on everybody. But it is what you write should be what you're writing, because we don't want to provide misinformation and quote things that are not accurate. I was talking to a friend who is an attorney who said she took a course where people were citing legal documents that never actually existed. They were papers of fake cases that people had used, and AI was not able to differentiate between a real court case and a made-up class study. So make sure that your information is correct.
I think, that mandate is right in our certification. Right in our certification. And by the way, the penalty for falsifying certifications is very severe, $75,000, so forth and so on. If you knowingly do that. We've seen a demonstration where somebody took one of them merged a picture of their dog and a picture of themselves using AI. Okay, one came out just the dog. The other came out with the dog having two different color eyes. So, it gets to the point that there needs to, in my opinion, I would hope that every document that AI submits to you in terms of a particular subject has a reference to it. And as long as you scrutinize that reference and take a look at who wrote it and how they wrote it, I think you're on safe ground. Other than that, I don't know. Okay, so we only have 8 minutes left. I want to leave the last 5 minutes for any other questions. So I just want to ask, Lynn, obviously when this mega rule comes out, we're going to need training on, and I presume you're gearing up for that. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, and then that will be well advertised in advance. There's so much in there. There's so much in there. You may have to it may be a full semester.
As the rule manager and as the manager of the training committee, I assure you that we are doing both. I am thinking about both all the time.
Yeah. And go ahead, Phil.
I was going to say a couple questions.
Yeah,
one
go ahead.
was, has the department received any RAP applications which attempt to utilize the old groundwater standards, which have changes of order of magnitude? So in other words, somebody trying to get it in before the August 3rd.
I wouldn't know, but I assume so, because there's no problem with them getting it in before the August 3rd deadline.
Actually, I take that.
Still in the 6-month phase-in period.
Right. Okay. And any examples of how the department is currently using AI?
So I know that BIR, I don't know about the rest of the department. Again, I can only talk about my program,
right?
My two bureaus. But there are certain things that occur at a site that it's an automatic referral for that BIR automatically refers to BIRA. So we are working right now to make it so that BIR doesn't have to touch it. It automatically goes to BIRA. So it will save staff's time on doing something that can be more automated.
Oh, Phil, do you have another question? Because I have a comment.
I got two more. One is, again, just a comment that if training dates are put forth, the sooner the better to get them out to people on a calendar, but I assume that's going to be tied to when the rules go final.
Right.
Yes.
There has been such I've added hyper focus on addressing PFAS and groundwater RAP applications recently, but how does the department plan on handling other emerging contaminants during the lifetime of a groundwater permit?
Basically, just like everything else, at your BI-Cert stage, you evaluate what you know at that point. If we say at the BI-Cert stage, we just found that there is a new compound Z and we want you to be looking for compound Z, then first, did you use it? We want to evaluate that. We would ask you to, at the BI-Cert, you're supposed to be taking all the new information that we have available and examining your site. So it would be done on a BI-Cert level because we want to make sure that that area of concern has been addressed. If compound Z was not used for the area of concern that is under the permit, that was for another part of the site that's not covered by the permit, then that would come in the next time that case comes into our program.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Phil.
No,
Sorry.
nope, you're good. Go. You're good.
No, go ahead. I just have one more after this. So that's all
No,
right. We have 4 minutes.
I was clearing my throat. I don't have another one. You're good. Go.
Relative to the training, we talked about the training. Prognosticating PFAS compounds, PFAS compounds. The department should be looking at the European Union. The European Union is way ahead of us in terms of regulating drinking water standards for our PFAS compounds. There's 1,200 PFAS compounds. How many are we going to regulate? EPA proposed 6. They blacked out. We have 3: PFAS, PFOA, PFNA. EPA is holding off and these are for public water supply for EPA. But they've come down to parts per trillion, which presumably 4 parts per trillion, I should say, which is presumably based on some type of health impacts. So if you're not watching what's going on in the European Union, it's a good approximate. It's a good forecaster. And I think, quite frankly, with just 3 more minutes, it's going to take me 3 minutes to thank Lynn. So I'm going to wrap our presentation up. Phil, do you have anything else you want to say before I embarrass Lynn?
No, keep going.
No. Well, Lynn, this has been really helpful.
Oh, I'm glad.
Really helpful. And your willingness to go to the lion's den, open the cage and step in. Thank you so much. I can't say that you're a good risk assessor, but having said that, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. I've learned, I have several notes and stuff that I need to polish up on. You're a real credit to the department.
Thank you.
Given your long-term commitment, even though you started when you were 7 years old, given your long-term commitment to the department is exemplary. So thank you for everything that you do for us. The department is a very good department. When you compare it to other departments in the United States, it's a very good department. So thank you, Lynn. Kudos to you. Kudos to the department.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Lynn, any closing remarks or reminders to people?
No, if I would give one final reminder to everybody, is treat the staff with respect when they ask you questions, when they send you letters. Be nice. Just if they answer their question, give them the information, show them where it was in the report, send it to them again. They're just trying to get your stuff out as quickly as possible. So the faster you can get it to them, the faster everything can move forward.
Yeah, take your calming pills before you go into the technical consult. Seriously, you can start off at 0 or you can start off at -10. So don't go to -10.
Right.
And comment and pet peeve. So I'll give the pet peeve first, which drives me nuts. But if you get an email, and I will tell you this, for any email you get, respond back and say, I have it, I've read it, I'm working on it. don't go dead silent. It drives me
Mm.
nuts when you send an email and you get nothing back. You wonder if it goes anywhere. Let them know you're actively working on it. And second thing is, remember, if you are going to try to preserve the old groundwater quality standards on your sites and you are eligible to do that, those remedial action work plans must be uploaded by the end of business. We'll call that for me, that's 11/59 on August 3rd, because
Yep.
that is 6 months after the rule was dropped. And those documents, and Lynn, you and I had the quick conversation, may at some time be inspected and reviewed. So don't submit 15 pages of blank paper.
Absolutely. We will make sure that there was information in that work plan that documented that what your remedial action work plan was at that time. So we will be looking at that. We need to know that that there was information submitted in that work plan.
Which supports your decision to retain the standards. So,
Correct.
Lynn, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Dr. Berkowitz,
welcome.
as always, thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Everyone be safe, stay well. And this will be posted on the CPES NJ website later today for anybody to see. So Ray, good to see you. Everybody, good to see
Ray.
you.
See you, Ray.